It's Corso and Catone. Brought to you by Corso Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Now for the real deal New England feel, Corso and Catone.
Welcome into Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. I'm Corso. Catone is here. Joe is with us in the booth, and you are watching us on YouTube, listening on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, anywhere you podcast, and of course 790 The Score. Make sure you give us a call, Mark. We not hear from people in heated hotline. Want to hear them, right?
Yeah, we haven't. Well, we've taken a lot of mailbags lately.
People are tight writing in. You could do that in the mailbag, corso.catone@gmail.com. But call us, 855-313-PATS, P-A-T-S. Have a take 24/7. It's a message line. Hey, guys, we got a good one today. We were going to talk Yankees versus Red Sox. My God, a reversal as we come out of the All-Star break. So we'll talk about that a little bit. And, of course, Catone's comments. You never want to miss that. We're going to talk B's and C's a little bit. There's some movement with both teams, some Olympics talk too in there. And we're going to go in the nation with the Pats Nation as training camp is opening up soon. Gentlemen,
hey, good to be back. We had a little bit of a hiatus.
A little bit. Joe likes that word.
Yeah.
He likes that. Joe likes that word. All right.
I think you guys sound
so we hope you enjoyed our top 5 series. Those are fun. I actually listened from where I was. And Mark, you sound good. You sound pretty good on the radio. So. All right, Mark's in. You know what? Mark's in no mood for hijinks today. He wants to get right into Yankees Red Sox, I think. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so disgusted.
All right, let's do it, Joe. So the title, it's apropos, Joe. Red Sox flying, Yankees dying. Mark, I mean, let's talk about the Yankees first, okay? Free falling. I mean, considering where they were to now.
Oh, absolutely. Chris, the Red Sox are only 3.5 games behind them right now. 3.5 games.
In the wild card, yeah.
In the wild card, yes.
It's and they're only 4.5 out. I believe 4.5 out the Red Sox of the division.
First place.
And we'll get to them in a second, but what happened to this team so far? I mean, you got right now they're sitting at 58-40. So there's still 18 games, coming out of the All-Star break. They've got to play on Friday while you're listening. We're recording on Thursday. So they're a game back still in the division. So I mean, they're right there. But there's definitely cause for concern here, Mark.
Oh, absolutely. Chris, listen. All of the things that we talked about before the season started during spring training in regards to, are they any different than they've been? Did they add any speed? Are they going to steal bases? Can they play small ball? What happens when the home run ball disappears? Did they add enough depth to the bullpen? All of those questions that we had all of a sudden surfaced. Like they just, Stanton got hurt. And listen, Stanton isn't the reason why they slided, Chris, but coincidentally, when Stanton went down, everything you and I discussed in spring training happened. They didn't steal a base, Chris, for over 30 games. They went through a stretch, I think it was 34 games. They didn't steal a base. How is that even possible that you didn't steal a base in 34-game stretch? How? I don't even know how that's conceivably possible in a major league roster. I don't know. So then,
Stanton has nothing to do with that, Mark, though. That's Boone.
Okay, well, we're going to get the Boone, right?
How many have they attempted?
Yeah, that's a good question, Chris. That I don't have, but I do know it was like 34 games. They didn't have a stolen base. That's insanity. Yeah. Insanity. Okay, the lineup. Gleyber Torres is a joke right now. He's a disgrace. Volpe cooled off. Verdugo cooled off. You're getting no hitting other than Judge and Soto. nobody's hitting on a consistent basis. If you know, they might score 3 runs a game. If somebody hits a home run, they don't hit, Chris. They're not hitting at all, which is problematic. They don't move guys over. They're not capable. It's they have a lot of. DJ LeMahieu needs to just be released, eat his contract, get rid of him. I mean, you mean to tell me they have nobody in the minor leagues that they can bring up that can play better right now than DJ LeMahieu? Are you kidding me?
There's
really?
gotta be. I mean, there has to be. And so, Mark, and you get the boot in a second, but like,
Chris,
so
what about women?
because the bullpen was still an issue.
Bullpen.
Yeah.
Now, I want you to speak to the game that Holmes comes in against the Red
You're
Sox.
gonna really get me friggin' mad now, aren't you?
Against the Red Sox, they bring him in. It's the 9th inning. What were they down? Were they down? Were the Red Sox down 2 in the bottom of the 9th? Top of the ninth. Top of the ninth. I think they were down 2.
Say it was yeah, maybe. I think it was 3 or 4 to 1, something like that.
Okay.
Something.
And they got
because they went into extras, right? Yeah. So it was 3 to 1. That's what it was. And so Holmes comes in. Holmes comes in and does the same thing he always does, which is why he's my favorite Yankee of all time. If you caught that top 5 series, wasn't he my number 1? Over DiMaggio?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he was right up there with DiMaggio. But Chris,
Holmes,
they got 2 outs, 3-2 count, puts a guy on base, and Chris said, "What's
gives
this?"
up a base hit,
right? And then you knew Yoshida was going to hit a home run. You just knew it.
It was that was it. I'm like, hey, as soon as that happened, I texted Mark immediately. I'm like, we're losing this game right now. He's, what are you talking about? I said, watch. Boom.
And there's
gone.
2 outs at the time. And I'm like, okay, he'll get this guy out.
3-2 count. Well, but from the guy before, the batter before that he put on, it was a 3-2 count, Mark.
Yeah.
With 2 outs. He left that ball. He left that ball over the plate, and the catcher's head just went down like, what the hell? That is not what I called. There was some issue there because the catcher was disgusted, And he put the guy on, boom, he gives up the home run. Now they go into extras. He calls me. Mark calls Joe, and he's like spitting on himself, pissed off, okay? Because it's not only that. They needed that win. The way they were running, the way they were going, that win was important. And they just gave it away, and it's Holmes, and it's the bull. So what do they do, Mark?
And Chris, they go to extra innings, and they give up another home run. A different reliever. It was Conley, but he still gives up a home run.
But you knew they were going to lose at that point. I mean, as soon as that happened. So okay, what do they do? What can they do? Because we were saying, hey, you know what? They make a move in the bullpen. That's all they need to do. I mean, you can't obviously pick up a manager before the.
You're not going to pick up a manager, and Chris, I'm going to be honest with you. Boone doesn't know what buttons to push. Doesn't know how to fix this. This is gonna. He has no clue how to fix this. And his job is safe because he's like a mouthpiece for Cashman. He's a mouthpiece for the front office. So his job is safe for the rest of the game. Even if they lose 10, 15 straight games coming out of the All-Star break, they won't fire him. He'll finish out his contract. So he's not going to.
Is there a player that they can put in? Is there somebody you look at out there and say, okay, is this if we could show up some bullpen help? Okay, fine. Well, is there a small ball guy they can bring in and trade a player on the roster now? I mean, what?
Well, maybe, but listen, Chris. So you had Jason Dominguez, the young kid, the 21-year-old who was supposed to look like a superstar last year. Hurts his UCL, has Tommy John, and was supposed to be back probably in June, middle of June, end of June, and then he gets a he pulls his lat, which those injuries can be anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 months. Those lat injuries. He's a big guy, and he's still not even rehabbing yet. He's the guy, Chris, that would have came up immediately when Stanton got hurt. He's a switch hitter. He would have gave life to the lineup. Who knows when he's coming back? They got a couple of other guys in the minor leagues. They got the kid Jones, Aaron Jones, who can play. Are they ready to bring him up? Probably not. you have to give up a prospect or two, Chris, to try to bring in a hitter and get pitching. They have prospects down there to give up, Chris. I mean, listen, if you are, other than Dominguez and Jones, if you got any other outfielder prospect, you got too many outfielders as it is, trade them. You don't need outfielders, trade them.
Right.
I wouldn't give it to any one of those two guys, but anybody else that's an outfield prospect, trade them. You don't need them. The kid they just brought up, Chris, looks like he's a player. The first baseman, who also was a catcher. He looks like he can be a player. But, Chris, you got dead weight on this team. Trevino was dead weight. LeMahieu was dead weight. Gleyber Torres was dead weight. But these guys are playing regularly. What do you do with them? Like the Yankees, Chris, have a lot of issues and problems, and I don't think they're fixable in the middle of the season. I'm afraid, Chris, this team's going to continue to slide. Who knows if at this point they're going to even hold on to the wild card? I don't know if there's a stop.
What will happen? No, Mark, what's going to happen is they're going to start hitting again. You know, they're going to start bashing the ball around again, and everybody's going to think it's solved, and it's not.
No, it's not. They're
Just
not.
like
They're
we've
not,
been saying
put it this
since
way,
April.
Chris, they're not a World Series team.
No,
They'll get to that if they sneak into the playoffs like they always do. They'll be knocked out by a good team, and that'll be the end of it.
And with the way this team is playing, conversely, do you start to think of them as a team that against any team I'll tell you this right now, the Red Sox, I honestly believe they can win a series against any team in the AL right now.
In a play, if they sneak in as a wild card.
I do. I think it's possible that they can do that. I think it's possible with the way this team's playing and what Cora's doing that this team can make a run. Now, whether they're buyers or sellers now, I mean, they're not going to be sellers. They shouldn't be. They're 11 games over 500, as you said, 3.5 out of the wild card. And I got a couple of guys I think maybe they should make a move for and go get. But
no, Chris, they're in the wild card. No, they're in the playoffs.
Well, they're in it, but they're only 3.5 off
from
the top spot. Yeah,
the top spot.
I mean.
Yeah. So, Chris,
and only 4.5 from the division, which is in range.
Listen, this team is young. They're exciting. They're gritty. They're having fun. They're an epitome of a baseball team. They're having fun. They're stealing bases. They're taking extra bases. They're doing fundamentally the things you want to see a team that doesn't have as much talent as these other teams, but they're playing loose. Listen, Chris, they are a product of Cora. That's what they are. Cora's laughing on the bench. They're a product of Cora. And believe me, I don't think Cora's coming back either, Chris. But this is his swan song with this particular team. And they're getting good starting pitching, Chris. Their bullpen is also questionable. But I don't think they care. They're getting starting pitching. And I don't think they're going to be buyers. But I don't think they can be sellers, Chris. I think maybe they stand path and see how far this team can take them without more, And I'm going to say something. They should be buyers, Chris, because Chaim Bloom, all he wanted to do was stockpile young players, Chris, and never wanted to trade any of them. You got guys in this farm system that you could get rid of. You have guys, multiple guys at certain positions. Get rid of some of them and take a shot and bring in a couple of veterans to try to make a move, Chris. I don't think they will, but they have the ability to do it, Chris, with their minor league system. You can't use all these guys.
Yeah, see, I think they will. I think. Listen to Brezel last week or the other day talking. He kind of finally got behind this team a little bit and said they'll do some things to make it happen. To me, there's only 3 untouchable guys, that they can't. You can't. You could. Well, no, I mean as far as prospects, there's 3 untouchable prospects: Meyer, Anthony, and Teal.
And that's everybody else is expendable, Chris.
Everybody else is on the table, and why? Why can't they go get a Justin Turner? Why can't they go get a Valdi?
They could.
We're going to have to overpay a little bit. They're going to have Evaldi would be a rental guy.
Maybe a 1-year rental.
What the hell do you care? Because you can, if your idea is if you want to keep Cora, if they make the playoffs, okay, and they go anywhere in the playoffs, the Cora may come back.
Cora stays. Cora might come back. That's their only shot at keeping Cora, Chris. Yeah. If you go get like an Evaldi on a rented contract and you show Cora, listen, we're willing to take a shot for you to go on a run. We'll bring in a couple of guys as rentals for you. But if they don't do that, Chris, anything short of that, I think Cora's probably gone. But, Chris, like you said, they probably right now, Chris, can win a series against anybody. They're playing that good at baseball. I can't believe it. I'm in shock.
They're on track to win over 90 games, and and again, they had a guy like Justin Turner. Who knows? Then now everybody in the team thinks, hey, we're ready to go. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep track of this coming out of the All-Star break and see if the Yankees can turn this thing around too. So Yankees versus Red Sox was.
Would you trade Boone if they went on a losing streak coming out of the break?
Would I fire Boone?
Would you not trade him? I said trade. Fire him. Would you fire Boone?
Yeah.
If they go on a 5-6 game losing streak coming out of the break, do you fire him?
Yeah. Because if the old man would have, I could tell you that right now.
Yeah. I don't think the Yankees have any. I'm even thinking that, but I would trade him. I fire him too. I'd fire him.
Something's got to be done. So we'll see what happens. Yankees versus Red Sox was presented by Corso Law Group, CorsoLawGroup.com. Hey, we come back. You'll see how already irritated and pissed off he is. Buckle up. Catone's comments is next.
No one ever thinks they'll be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer. But things happen. Whether it's a traffic ticket or more serious issue, go to CorsoLawGroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys.
Time for Catone's comments!
So today I was reading, and I can't even believe I'm gonna address this. I have to address this in Catone's comments, but I do because it's been driving me crazy for 3 weeks, and we've been on, as Joe loves to say, a hiatus, between vacations and different things. So today I'm reading that they have NBA Rookie of the Year while the Summer League is going on. Anybody doesn't know, the Vegas Summer League for rookies in the NBA and undrafted guys and guys who might be in their first or second year in a league, but didn't really play. They were in the G League. So they have something called a Summer League. It's taking place in Vegas, started July 12th. So, you get to watch all these guys. The games are on all night long. So right now it looks like Zach Edey from Purdue is dominating, at least in Summer League. So he probably is the odds-on favorite for Rookie of the Year right now if you're betting. But I'm reading today that all these people in Vegas, the smart guys, they're betting on, because the odds are so long, on Bronny James. Bronny James. Okay, listen. Please do me a favor. Tune into a Lakers Summer League game from Vegas. They're on, if you have NBA TV, they're on ESPN, ESPN2, they're on all the ESPNs. Please, even if you're going to tape it, watch a Lakers Summer League game. Rookie of the Year. Rookie of the Year? Listen, he shouldn't be in the NBA. Oh, my God. It's what LeBron did to get this kid drafted. And I get it's his son. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace what it's a mockery to the NBA, and it's a mockery to these guys who work their tail off to make the NBA that kid got drafted in the second round. He would be at the end of the bench, never seeing the court if he was at UConn right now. Never mind in the NBA. He wouldn't see the court at UConn. And I would argue he wouldn't see the court at Xavier because of all the guys Xavier brought in. And I don't know how much playing time he'd even get at Providence College because they just brought in a ton of talent through the portal and through their recruiting class. He's in an NBA team and they're talking about Rookie of the Year money that people are betting on him. Listen, the kid isn't an NBA player. Maybe 2-3 years down the road, maybe. The kid listen, he's small. He has no strength. He's not a good shooter. Listen, he's a fraud. The kid, and listen, I understand he had health issues last year. And listen, I don't ever want to see anything happen to anybody, and I felt bad for him. My prayers were with them and the family when it happened. I'm just talking about his basketball ability. That's all I'm talking about. The kid is a fraud. They said, he might go into the portal and leave USC, or maybe he'll enter the draft. He had to enter the draft because if he went back to college, he would have been exposed as a fraud. He stinks. He's not an NBA talent. But if because he didn't play much this year, LeBron was able to manipulate the Lakers and get him on the team. Because if he went back to college, whether it was back at USC or he went to the portal and went to another school, he wasn't going to show anything. I can name you 50 guys in college basketball right now who are better than him. I watched them play the Celtics, and I was losing my mind. I'm like, how is this kid gonna? Okay, what, they're gonna put him in the G League for a year? He was a second-round draft pick. That is a mockery to those kids who worked their tail off to try to get drafted by an NBA team. That because of his father, that kid is in the league. The Lakers sold their soul to LeBron James, and they ought to be ashamed of themselves. Ashamed of themselves. I'm disgusted.
Sold their soul, Joe.
The Lakers.
Sounds like a horror movie.
It does.
You know?
A good summer
Lakers.
blockbuster, though.
Summer blockbuster, you know. Like sold their soul. Mark, you're right. I mean,
I know you've been on vacation, Chris. I don't know if you've gotten a chance to watch them.
They played this out. Oh, please. Is there a bigger degenerate besides you than me?
I'm watching NBA Summer League.
I'm on a cruise ship.
At midnight.
I'm
I'm watching Memphis. I'm watching Memphis and Minnesota at midnight.
I'm on a cruise ship, and I'm spending ridiculous amounts of money just so I can watch G League, just so I can watch the Celtics play the Lakers. Listen, in that game, okay,
there's something wrong with you. You're on a vacation and you're watching Celtics Lakers. There's something wrong with you.
Oh, what the hell?
In a summer league game.
A lot of big things happened, in this world, while I was gone. So he had 2 points in like 25 or 30 minutes against the Celtics when they played last week. Which is disgusting. And my understanding was Jaylen Brown was sitting courtside, and the report is that he was mouthing. I think Angel Reese was sitting next to him, my favorite person, my favorite professional player. She was sitting next to him, I believe, and he mouthed. You could see his mouth saying he's not a pro. Like, he's not a pro, this kid, because he's not.
He's not a pro. He's not.
Talk about nepotism.
Listen.
To the nth. And this was listen, I don't begrudge the kid. Hey, look, you know what?
No.
You have no shot. You're not doing it on your own. So you want to get an NBA contract, you got to rely on your old man. Nobody, the three of us would do the same thing.
Of course,
that's we would.
Not
But
be
listen,
critical.
Chris,
Nepotism, it is what it is. But when it's so blatant and obvious and out there for all the world, for like team like the Lakers, it's like, come on,
But it's
Chris,
not our son, and it's not our situation, so screw him. He's wrong.
Screw him. Yeah,
Exactly.
Chris, he couldn't go back to college. That wasn't an option because he would have been exposed, because he might have sat on the bench again if he transferred to a program that had a lot of talent. He wasn't going to play. So he had to go to the NBA so the father could, use nepotism and pull the strings with the Lakers and say, hey, if you don't draft him, I'm not coming back to the Lakers. So, of course, the Lakers had to take him. What are they going to do? Then that's a team that needs a lot of help, Chris. But yet they wasted a second-round pick on somebody who's not an NBA player. Now, the brother, on the other hand, is going to be an NBA player. He's still in high school. I think he's already better than Bronny. He's still in high school. But he's got the potential to be a productive NBA player. But Bronny, no way. Chris,
would he be a guy that would come out of high school right to the NBA?
I don't know. He's not. I don't know. Supposedly he might do a year of college, but I don't know, Chris. It depends. If the father still wants to play one more year, and if the kid comes out of high school and the Lakers can take him and he plays with both sons, maybe the kid would.
It's a bad look. It's a bad look. But you know what? That whole organization is a bad look.
Yeah, they fell.
Freaking Lakers.
Lakers fell, huh? Yeah.
I mean, they won that. They won that asterisk championship in the bubble. Because this is green
because they got
now.
the rest. LeBron and Davis got the rest for 3 months, 2 months, whatever it was. 2 months they were shut down for COVID, and at that point, Chris, that you weren't even playing in front of fans. That was a joke. That was a complete joke what they did. And they won it.
Green teamers. Talk about green teamers, you and me. We should be 2 up on them. We should be 18-16.
It should be. You're absolutely right. It should be.
No, it's gross. Listen, it's ridiculous. You know what? You're right. Shame on the Lakers, but they did the same thing with the coach. Oh, JJ Redick. He's an NBA coach now.
He's not. That's LeBron. That's for LeBron. Listen, they made their pitch to Hurley. They didn't give Hurley anywhere near what I thought they were going to offer him because he's making the extension he got at Connecticut is almost what the Lakers offered him. So why would he go to the Lakers and have to put up with LeBron and his whole thing? Forget it. There was no way Hurley was going there.
Yeah, he must have walked away because when they said, "Oh, he's got to go back to Connecticut and then he'll give us the answer," you and I both thought, "Well, he's taking the job and he's going to go talk to his team first before he." But yeah, you're right. So somewhere in that 6-7 hour trip that he took, something must have occurred to him that said, Jesus Christ, I can't. They're going to draft this kid. This is going to be a mess.
Yeah.
I'm going to be out of, LeBron's going to turn on me and I'm going to be out of here in, a year, 2 years.
2 years. Yeah. Nope.
But Redick, he's just a mouthpiece. That's it. Well, don't they do a podcast together?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or something like that?
Something like
LeBron
that.
and Redick?
Yeah, they do. They do. So that's.
Are you surprised though? I mean, we're fathers. This is where it's at. I mean, I'm making a joke about it, so we would probably do the same thing. It's hard though, right? It is hard. It's hard. Would you do it for yours? You probably would.
I probably would, Chris. But I'm gonna tell you something, Chris. When my son was younger, I made a conscious decision to stop coaching him.
Yeah.
Just for the mere fact that I didn't want favorite people. It appeared that he was starting at a position because, his father's the coach. Right? Well, no. Let him.
And by the way, just so you know, for everybody out there, Junior over there would have been able, whether you were the coach or not, that kid deserved to be on the field, just so you know what kind of ball player
I get that. But, and Chris, you dealt with that in football because your son played and you coached some of the teams he was on. But then as he got older and went to high school, you took a step back and you let him move up on his own and you just coached freshmen,
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
he started to hear that kind of stuff too, and he absolutely deserved to be on the field the way he was.
Of course he did.
Yeah, no, and you're right. It is all that.
It's tough. It's tough.
It is.
But I
tough.
guess put in that position. I don't know. It's easy to say it from the outside. Would I do the same thing? Yeah. Well, I get.
You like to believe that you've instilled in them, the desire to want to earn it on your own. But where they're saying to you, look, Dad, I don't, because I heard that plenty of times in my house. I heard that from him plenty of times from my son, where he would say, just stay away for a minute because I want to be able to do this. I said, well, you are doing it. It has nothing to do with me. Yeah. But, again, I don't know if that's been instilled in this kid. I don't know if the kid genuinely wants to, earn this thing on his own. And maybe it's okay to say, hey, we're going to get you. I'm going to open the door for you a little bit.
And you're going to have to bang your way through it.
But you're not going to be sitting on the bench over here with us. You're going to be in G League. You're going to be playing for a while, wherever the hell you're playing. And you're going to have to earn it up to where you're stepping on the court with me. That's different. That's a little. But to spend a second round pick on him, that's ridiculous, Mark.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see if he goes to the G League and if he has to earn his time on the court with the father. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be interesting.
All good stuff, Mark. You know what? Listen, I don't blame you being fired. It's the Lakers. Screw them. They're wrong. That's it. They're wrong. LeBron's wrong. They suck.
And it wasn't just the Celtics game. I've tried to watch every game he's played in just because I'm like, okay, let me watch this kid. But it's tough to watch, Chris. It really is tough to watch.
Oh, Joe, that just shows he has nothing else to do. He has nothing else to do with his time, clearly.
I'm taping summer league games. That's when I lost my mind. Taping summer league games.
God. What a
lot of issues.
Right?
A lot of issues for Mr. Catone. So Catone's comments was presented by the Pats Nation. Sundays, 8 a.m. Eastern. Tune in to Mark and I and Joe. We're going to have, hey, listen, when the Patriots season starts, that's going to be your first pregame show, 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern. The Pats Nation, all Patriots all the time. You never want to miss that. But when we come back, we're going to talk a little B's and C's and more. No flipping.
Sundays are for football. And here in New England, that means it's the Pats Nation with Corso and Catone.
You have the worst wide receiver room in the National Football League.
This is why the Patriots need us in the draft room. Let's see what the Pats Nation thinks about that, Mark.
Starting June 30th, Sundays, 8 to 9 a.m. on 790 The Score.
Back in with more Corso and Catone, the real deal, New England feel. Okay, we're going B's, we're going C's. We're going to do it now. Here we go, Joe.
Hit it! The Celtics are the world champions, and they have shown the world how great of all fun they really are.
Okay, so even though it's summertime and there's a lot still going on.
Quickly say how relevant now that wash is nice to see that after they won, it actually works. Just wanted to throw that in there.
I still think it's the best. It's the best wash he has.
It is the best wash he has. It really is. It is. Just because of the Celtics and Johnny Moses voice. I love it.
It goes right to his head, though, doesn't it? When we give him those kinds of props.
Yeah, what's wrong with you? You can't tell him those types of things.
So let's talk a little Bruins first. Okay, we're going to actually do it in order, B's and C's. So let's talk Bruins.
Okay.
We were concerned a lot, as everybody should have been, and still is in many areas. The center position. You talked about it as the season ended when they had those issues against the Panthers. Even though people say, well, the Panthers won, we lost to the would-be champs, so, not so bad. No, stop, cut the brakes. It is bad. Faceoffs are a problem. Center position was a problem. Production there.
Chris,
everything.
Faceoffs killed us in that series against Florida.
Absolutely
killed us.
Them. And so they came into free agency, and wondering about all the guys they had in free agency, what they were going to do, what they're going to lose. So some of the guys they lost, just going down the list, that we didn't think, Jake DeBrusk went to the Canucks. Did we care?
No, that was finally. Get rid of him. Finally.
Danton Heinen, Canucks, left there. Okay. Lucic, he's still unsigned. Pat Maroon went to the Blackhawks. Again, another guy that, you can find those guys. And then some of the other guys, some of the lesser guys. Now, what they bring in. Okay?
Well, the trading of the goalie, which we discussed.
Yeah, we talked about that. I like the trade. I like the 25th pick, but but I don't like the backup goalie they get for that kind of money. I mean, you only save $2 million, and you got a guy that's horrible. So who they bring in now? So make a big splash with Elias Lindholm, because they bring this center in. They give him 7-year deal.
They were rumored to be trading for him, and they never did. They never pulled the trigger. Remember? Right.
And I said trade. I think I said trade. Free agency is what I was saying. If I didn't say that, 7 years, $7.5 million. Now 7 years. It's a long contract, but they had to do this
contract for hockey, but they had to.
I mean, they had to do it. It was an absolute no-brainer of all.
That's a lot of money. That's a high-end contract for hockey.
Yeah, I mean, it because it addresses some glaring issues. Okay, first of all, it gives you that center line depth. I mean, he walks in. It's a Patrice Bergeron replacement, and I'm putting that in air quotes because for before you start calling heated hotline and yelling at me, shut up, because I'm putting it in air quotes. Nobody's replacing Bergeron. I get it, but that's the spot he's going to step into.
And it's a year late, Chris. Right? They needed to do that last offseason when Bergeron retired, but they did it. They did it. Give him credit.
Yeah. So if he's on a Stanley Cup contender, he's probably a number 2, high 2, but he's going to step into the number 1 role with this group.
Yeah,
what it does too is it puts these guys back in their place. It puts Zacha and it puts Coyle on lines that they should be. It takes Zacha and it maybe puts him back over to left wing, where he should be. Okay, next to Pastrnak. So you have a line with now Lindholm, Pastrnak, and Zacha is what you should have. and it puts him in that natural position of left wing, and I think you get more production. And the other thing it does is it takes Coyle down a line that he should be on with Marchand. Okay, so again, they still have a wing, somewhat of a wing issue because they got to make up for DeBrusque. But it also helps with faceoffs, doesn't it, Mark?
Oh, absolutely, Chris. Yeah, that was their biggest issue. Well, I shouldn't say that. They had a few issues, but that was one of their major issues that you talked about all year, Chris. Whenever they needed to get a face-off or win a face-off, clear the puck, they couldn't do it. They just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he's taking 16th most face-offs in NHL was Lindholm. 7th best face-off of centers with 1,300 draws. So it corrected that. Okay, now, the other thing, they also acquired that Mark Kostelic as part of that Ullmark deal, 6'3", right shot forward. So that'll give some. But on defense, Mark, this Zadarov. Okay, so this is
how
a giant.
big is he, Chris?
Well, he's 6'6", 248.
And what did we say all year, Chris? You needed a big defenseman.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, they gave a 6-year, $5 million deal. Because now you have Hampus Lindholm and Brandon Carlo. Okay, while they may be 6'4" and 6'5" respectively, they don't play that way.
No.
I mean, how pissed off was I about Carlo? I mean, really.
Oh, please. Yeah.
So they did a lot of stuff, and the biggest thing with that splash was clearing of the puck. This is a guy that's big enough. He was one of the top in the league of getting the puck out of the zone, which was always an issue with them that whole series, right?
Yeah, Chris, they now got somebody who can go in a corner and get physical and get the puck, right? They didn't have that, especially in that Florida series. It was blatant. It was, they didn't have it, Chris. They just didn't. Yeah. And listen, even the year before when they blow the big lead in the series, with Bertuzzi and those guys, they were supposed to be able to do that, and they still didn't do it. So I think this signing, Chris, it should help with that. I mean, based on his stats, if you look at what he did last year, supposedly, this is one of our biggest weaknesses. They addressed it.
So again, kudos to them, Don Sweeney. I think they did a good job with free agency of what they needed. They addressed the needs.
I didn't think they would go and spend the money to do that. I'm surprised.
No, and
I'm
so
pleasantly surprised. Pleasantly surprised.
They're still going to have some problems at wing.
Sure.
But you hear this before. You got some prospects. There's Lazelle and Merkolov. You keep hearing that, but hopefully those guys can come around, and you're going to have Postra there that's going to come back. So we'll see how they do. And flipping now over to the
though, before we switch, is Swayman ready to take the mantle though?
Well, they let a couple of big dates pass, didn't they?
Yeah.
To sign him and to get him, about taking arbitration, and
so
I still don't think he's worth $8 million. I still will tell you that I don't know that I want to pay a goalie that much money.
Okay.
But they'll do it. So let's get to the Celtics because, and this is a little bit of Olympic talk. Okay, so you got the U.S.
I want to say something before we talk about the Olympics.
Yeah.
We had some technical difficulties. I don't want people to think that we forgot about the championship and the parade, and because we did have a show dedicated to that, did we not? There were a few technical difficulties.
Well, the 790 listeners didn't get that.
The 790 listeners didn't get that, right? I just want them to know, our dedicated 790 listeners, there was a technical difficulty where there was 790 couldn't get it uploaded for us, which, those things happen. They happen, right? But for our 790 listeners, we didn't forget about that. We had to go on YouTube and go see the show that we had dedicated to the championship, the parade, and we talked about all of that.
Yeah, again, go on there, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all podcast outlets. It's up. It's Joe.
And
what
it's
was the
now
title
up on 790, isn't it, Chris?
Banner 18, Bedlam, and Celtics Hangover is another title. Go check those out and make sure you subscribe when you do that.
Hey, Chris, I believe it is now up on 790 as well, right?
Yeah, it's probably in the podcast section. So make sure you go check that out. So, Mark, talking about the Celtics, talking about the Olympic team, okay? By the way, they're 3-0 so far and tune up. I don't know that they could be beat. We'll talk about that in a second. But talking about Jaylen Brown, the snub. It's all that's been being discussed. It's a slow sports time too.
Was it a snub?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, that was going to be the question because Derek White. This was happening when Kawhi Leonard was on the team, and his injury was such that he had to go off, and they had to bring somebody else on. And Derek White is the guy. And by the way, deserving. I think he's deserving of it. I think his defensive presence is. I have no problem with Derek White being on this team. So this is not against him. But now you look at Jaylen Brown and you say, well, okay, how the hell doesn't he make this team? If I would even suggest that he should be on instead of Leonard, versus more so than even Kawhi. But
Chris, Eastern Conference Finals MVP,
not on the team. So first of all, let's put this to bed. There's been some talk out there, and you feel this. Them actually using strategy when they're talking about who you're bringing on. So they're saying, well, you bring Derek White on because now you get a lot of points guys on this team. What you're missing is some defense. You want somebody that when some of these games in the Olympics of late years have gotten tight. I mean, they lost in the U.S. The World Tournament or whatever it was a few years ago. They lost that. They got bounced out of that. And so are the powers that be there, the coaching staff and so on, are they looking at it saying, we can use a Derek White for what we need here? We need some good defensive play. We need some good presence. We use good ball handling. We don't just need guys that can put the ball in. Is that the reason? Possibly. Or is it just Nike?
I think Jaylen
Brown versus Derek White.
I think Nike plays a part. Absolutely, Chris. And for those of you that don't know, Nike's a big sponsor of the Olympic team. And Jaylen Brown is not a Nike guy, and is I don't know. He's got some
very far from a Nike guy.
Far from a Nike guy. And for those of you that haven't heard of that yet, that's one of supposedly the main reasons why he's not on this team. And that may have played a part.
And he believes that too.
Oh, he definitely believes that. And I just want to throw two things out there, Chris. So when they asked Jason Tatum about the snub, he said, yeah, well, Jaylen, blah, blah, but, we got a lot of great guys and Derek, and we're going to be good. But he said, oh, yeah, he should be on. He deserves to be on the team. But it was very laissez-faire, and then he switched topics. It wasn't a glowing endorsement of his teammate, was it?
It's a Jason Tatum response. It's a typical Jason Tatum response. I mean, this is a guy, we kept talking about this. This is a guy that wants to be friends with everybody. He wants to be friends with the whole room. He's quieting his crowd down against what's his face over there?
Kyrie.
Kyrie, remember a couple of years ago? He's quieting the crowd. He wants to be guys' friends. He doesn't want to upset. He wasn't ruffle any feathers. That's Jason Tatum. That's who he is. Yeah, I mean, if I'm Jaylen Brown, this is another reason to have a chip on my shoulder. We talked a few weeks ago about them moving on and what's the motivation to win. Should they even need one moving forward? Here's one for Jaylen Brown. He's a guy that loves that stuff. That crap.
Oh, this will fuel Jaylen Brown as they go into next season. The fact that he wasn't on the Olympic team, because you are right, Chris. Kawhi is a thing of the past. They put him on there based on what he did 3-4 years ago. Kawhi Leonard hasn't been that player in about 3 years. So he absolutely shouldn't have been on this team over Jaylen Brown. Come on.
And you know what? I'll say it. Neither should LeBron. He's only there because of his name too and his history. That's it. Listen, there were 10, 15 guys better in the league than LeBron right now.
Okay, listen, you might be getting a little ahead of yourself.
No, I'm not. You can't name 10 you can't name 10 players currently playing today that have played better than LeBron.
Joe,
are you kidding?
Here's a guy who wanted to argue with me a year ago that LeBron and Jordan and listen, no,
that's a cumulative. No, you know what? Screw you. That's a cumulative thing that I was saying. That's over his career. No. I'm talking about as you stand.
I don't
today.
know what kind of air you were breathing in on that ship you were on. I don't know where you were.
Listen,
Right.
I'm breathing fine over here. I'm talking about throughout his whole career. But you take LeBron today, right now, as he stands, you're telling me there's not 10 other guys in this league going to put on a team instead of him?
No, there is. Listen, I'm going to say this too, Chris. You talked about, the fact that the
At
team's
least
3-0.
5.
No, there's definitely 5. You talked about the fact that the team is 3-0 right now, and they're just going to roll through people. I'm going to say this to you: if they get into a dogfight game, Jaylen Brown has that dog in him,
Yes,
and
he
he
does.
showed it. He showed it in the playoffs this year because they needed it. Who on that team, other than maybe Curry, if Curry gets into one of his modes and says, "Give me the goddamn ball," but other than
Get
Curry,
out of the
Chris,
way, yeah.
who has that dog in him? LeBron, Tatum, who?
Well, I will say Edwards is an attitude. I don't know if can rise to the challenge. He didn't do it he didn't do it against Dallas. I would say Edwards and honestly, Derek White is a guy that could step his Derek White is a guy that can get control back of a game. He can get control back with his defense, with his presence, his ball handling, and with his calm. Derek White's one of those guys that can get that done, believe it or not. But you're right. Jaylen Brown is a team that you can put him on the back. You can put him on the back. So was it a snub, Mark?
Oh, absolutely. It was a snub. Absolutely. Positively.
And this isn't the last we're going to hear from Jaylen Brown about this Nike thing. He's just waiting. He doesn't want to step on the toes of the guys that are playing right now. But when this is over, he'll sound off when it's over. You bet he will. But let us know in Heated Hotline what you think, if this was a snub and the reason why, or is it legitimate basketball reasons that Derek White is on this team. So B's and C's was presented by Corso Law Group, CorsoLawGroup.com. Hey, when we come back on a Welcome in the Nation, Pat's Nation is next.
No one ever thinks they will be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. Corso Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Their 20-plus years experience and attention to detail has helped thousands of people who found themselves in a situation in Arizona. Whether it's a traffic ticket or more serious issue, talk with these expert attorneys. CorsoLawGroup.com.
Back in with more Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. Okay, so coming close, Mark. Coming close.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait.
Let's talk Pat's Nation, Joe. And speaking of Pats Nation, make sure you're tuning in tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern, for the Pats Nation with Corso and Catone. We're going to have all Patriots talk all the time. We're going to elaborate more on what we're going to talk about right now, have a lot more detail to it. So make sure you're tuning into that and subscribe and give us that thumbs up. So, Mark, let's talk a camp preview. Okay, we got a little preview here. Camp's coming up. What are they rookies or whoever comes in next week, I think, is it? And then it really gets
rookies
full go.
next week, and then they filter through. Yep.
And then they get full go. And we're going to have it. Listen, both on the Pats Nation and on this show, we're going to have our basically pregame talk about all the preseason games, all 3 of them. So you're not going to miss a thing. Nobody likes to talk preseason. We do. We love it, and we're going to get you ready. Yeah, we're going to get you ready for the season. So, Mark, looking at preview overall, and we'll get into a couple of position battles right now, but your camp preview, what do you expect to see all around here? The mood, anything?
Well, I think it's going to be, put it this way, Chris. I think it's going to be a lighter mood than typical because I think Mayo is obsessed with trying to do, and I know you're going to get pissed off, he's obsessed with trying to break away from what Bill used to do. So I'm sure it's going to be a little bit lighter. It's not going to be as heavy. His press conferences talking about what's going on in training camp is going to be different. I'm really interested, Chris, to see what happens if Drake May just takes off in the summer, and how do you stop him from playing? Like, what do you do here? So my question is going to be, are they going to be cautious in using him so that he can't take off, so that Brissett can start? Because if the rest of the guys on the team, Chris, say to themselves, holy shit, this kid is leaps and bounds better than anybody else in that room. How do you not play him week one? So I think they're going to have to be strategic on how they work the quarterback room to make sure Brissett is their starter. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that, I mean, you're talking about suppressing a guy now. You
Well,
know,
I'm not saying suppressing. I said strategic. Strategic.
it's just for strategic suppressing. Listen to him, Joe. Listen to him. It sounds like he should be, running foreign affairs. So,
Oh, God.
yeah, I mean, I don't know about that. I'll be honest. I don't know. That sounds more like a Belichick thing because
Okay.
I don't know if this coaching staff is good enough right now. I don't know if they're sharp enough right now to be. I don't know if their pencil is sharp enough to be able to, to dot that I. You know what I mean? And keep that going. My question is, and quickly is, what's the organization going to be like? What's it going to look like? What are the day-to-day activities? What's the organization? How put together is this going to be? Is this coaching staff and this staff going to look like they're behind the eight ball, like they looked all off season to me, or are they catching up and they're going to get it right? To me, that's something I'm going to be really looking for to see what this coaching staff is like. But looking at some of these position groups, and I think for you out there to look for, as we move in. Talking about the third running back spot, it's clear Gibson and Stevenson are the guys. But now you're looking at Kevin Harris, Deshaun Fenwick, which is the guy you like.
The undrafted guy, yep.
And Terrell Jennings. And then there's Hasty comes in as a veteran. That's something to look out. Look for that battle because I hope Fenwick gets that job.
Yeah, I do too. I think
it's a guy that can challenge Stevenson.
Yes, I do too. Speaking of Stevenson, Chris, we haven't had a chance to really discuss that contract. What did you think of that extension?
You know how I feel about running backs.
Okay.
You can get them.
All right.
I mean, at this point, I think this going so. This is the quest to go so far
They're
away
going
from
overboard.
Belichick that they're just overcompensating now. Pay everybody. Pay them all. Pay all the
Keep
4 win
everybody.
guys. We
Keep
have 4
everybody.
wins last year. Pay them all. Pay them all. Maybe they'll pay you and me too.
Yeah, right.
Pay us.
Shoot.
Maybe we could carry the ball. So that's something to
wins.
look at. And the other thing too is Mark talking about corner. This is going to be and I want to get to wide receiver in a second, but looking at the corner battle, we talk very little about defense. We have because for all rightfully so. But you got Christian Gonzalez, you got Jonathan Jones, Marcus Jones, and to me, Alex Austin probably makes this team. Okay, so you got 4 guys right there, and now you're left with who's coming in: Isaiah Bolden, Sean Wade, Marco Wilson, Hearn, and who is the Dial, who was the 6th round pick, who you and I really like.
We like him.
It depends on inside outside, doesn't it? Boundary corner versus field corner. I mean,
listen, Marcus Jones is going to have to
take
Jones is going to have to take a step forward, Chris, in the slot.
Well, now is he going to get the chance? Because here's the thing: if we know Christian Gonzalez is a boundary corner on the outside,
he's a boundary corner. Yep.
If they take Jonathan Jones and they put him back to his natural place, which is at inside, then that leaves Marcus Jones kind of backing him up.
Yeah,
And then you're going to want Alex Austin at the other boundary corner in that situation, unless you go get Gilmore,
who's still out there.
I think they should still bring him in.
Oh, I would definitely bring him in. I think Mayo sits him down and gives him the spiel of, hey, this isn't Bill's team. I'm not Bill, but all this nonsense that I think he's been spewing to players. And maybe Gilmore comes. But Gilmore, Chris, said Belichick was the best coach I ever played for. So even though he left and Belichick wouldn't pay him, he has a lot of respect for Bill. So
yeah.
But I would definitely reach out to Gilmore, Chris, because I think that other boundary corner, it could potentially be a problem for us.
But I honestly, the future, aside of Gonzalez, you're going to laugh. People out there are going to laugh. This Marcellus Dial is made to
No,
play
I
boundary
agree
corner.
with you, Chris. I totally agree with that. I like the kid. I do.
So pay attention to that position battle as well in camp.
Yep.
Mark, get to the receivers now. Let's get to the heart of this thing.
So
We
listen,
know Kendrick Bourne's going to make the team. Let me
Kendrick
just give you
Bourne's
the
going to
guy.
make the team.
Bourne makes the
Tyquan
team.
Thornton's making the team. He's played.
Yes.
What a camp he
You
had.
know
He's
what?
going to have it.
I'm done. That's it. It's now Joe and Catone. I don't want to hear about Thornton anymore. Because you know what? You love him. You love him. You love him like you loved Harry.
Oh,
So-
Harry. Yeah. Listen,
Kendrick
no,
Bourne's going to make this
Kendrick
team.
Bourne's
Pop
on the
Douglas
team.
is going to
Pop
make
Douglas.
the team.
the
Polk.
two rookies, Polk and
Baker.
Baker, are making the team.
And because of the money they paid him, Osborne.
Osborne. And what about Juju?
Okay, so wait. So we got Bourne,
And Thornton.
Douglas, Polk, Baker, and Osborne. That's
Osborne.
5.
How
That's
many
5.
do they keep? How many receivers?
They're
they
going to
keep?
have 6. They'll have 6. They're not going to go with more than 6. So now, here are the guys that are left.
Yeah, but even
that are
if
fighting.
one of them,
Listen.
Chris, even if one of them is a Slater type guy,
So that would be Rieger.
so Rieger would be that guy. So it's
So
6
let's say-
receivers
let's
and
take
maybe
him out then.
Rieger,
Let's
Okay.
take Rieger out. Let's put him there. Okay, let's put him as the Slater
special teams guy. Okay,
special teams dude. Okay.
Okay, so now, you
Now,
need one more
you're
spot.
You're left with Schuster, Thornton,
And
who
Boutte.
never makes the list ever, and talked about is Butte. Okay, so those are the 3 guys that
Chris, listen,
that you look
Boutte
at.
lit up the last day of minicamp. He had 4 touchdowns. He was the talk of the day. Okay. He beat Gonzalez one-on-one in the end zone. He went over, he kind of physicaled them up, which is something that you and I were a little concerned about. Could this happen to him sometimes? Boutte got physical with him, Chris, went up and got the ball, had 4 touchdowns. And the case against him has just been thrown out in Louisiana. So there's no more
Right.
legal
I was just going to
troubles.
say he caught a break.
What a break. There's no more legal troubles hanging over his head. So I think Boutte, Chris, I still think that kid can pop.
I hope so.
He
I
got in
do
the
too.
doghouse last year, and I know how you feel about. That's the one thing your pet peeve with Belichick was his doghouse. I think this kid Boutte is going to pop, Chris. I still think it.
Well, you know what? Stay tuned for tomorrow. Tune in tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. We're going to talk a lot more in depth about these receivers. Mark's got a lot to say about it. You know how much he loves Thornton. But looking at the offensive line, Mark, is the other one to pay attention to. So we got a lot of right tackles on this team. A lot of right tackles. So you're talking David Andrews.
And
we know
potentially one left tackle, maybe.
But they drafted a right tackle. So I mean, you know, Caden Wallace, they drafted. He's a right tackle.
Can you push him out to the left side?
Not this year.
Okay.
So
So you have the guy from Pittsburgh that they signed.
Yeah.
Is your left he's your
Okafor.
starting left tackle by default?
Yeah, Okafor will end up playing left tackle. Who's a right tackle?
Okay.
You know. And now the other question becomes, and we know who the center is. We know it's Andrews. We know Sidney Sowell will play. We know Mafia will be there at guard, right? What does Owinu do? Does Owinu play right tackle or does he play guard?
I think Owinu, Chris, is a guard.
Or so then what? You take the rookie Caden Walsh and put him out at right tackle now?
Interesting.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, no, you're right.
These are things these are things we have to pay attention to.
And what about the other stiff on the other side, Chris? The guard that the first round draft pick.
Cole Strange?
Strange.
I think he sucks.
Yeah, I don't think Chris. I think he's going to struggle. He may be a borderline cut from this team.
Yeah. So we're going to see. Listen, we're going to see what happens, and we're going to talk quarterbacks too. That's the other thing we want to look for in camp. So make sure you tune in tomorrow.
Bailey Zappi, number two.
Yeah,
Bailey
you go.
Zappi.
He's going to start. So tune in tomorrow. You're going to get a lot more. We're going to get a lot more in depth on the Pats Nation. But Corso and Catone was presented by the Pats Nation. Sundays, 8 a.m. Eastern. Get on, watch. All our shows are up for you. Subscribe, get all our notifications so you never, ever, ever miss an episode. And come back next weekend, noon. We'll have a special Tom Brady episode. You're not going to want to miss that. So stick around. We are Corso and Catone, the real deal, New England feel. See you next Saturday.
Now find Corso and Catone on AM 790, The Score, iHeartRadio, iTunes, wherever you podcast. Or subscribe to the YouTube channel and catch the chaos every Saturday at noon.